Synth TV.
Hey everybody, CatSynth TV, and today we are talking about the Synclavier V from Arturia. It is a faithful and in some ways more powerful recreation of the legendary Synclavier synthesizer from the 1980s. But before we begin this demo, we're going to talk a little bit about the history. And of course, please remember to subscribe to this channel for more synthesizer content coming out regularly. The Synclavier was developed in the late 1970s by New England Digital. The original set a standard for digital synthesizers and was prized by electronic musicians. But it was the Synclavier II, released in 1980, that became the holy grail of synthesizers in its time. It used a combined FM and additive synthesis engine with multiple partials assembled into complex and expressive sounds. It also was the first to employ high-resolution multi-sampling, including at a partial level. With its wooden keyboard and panel and attached terminal, it was also visually unique. But it all came at a very steep six-figure price tag. Pioneering composer and sound designer Suzanne Ciani was an early adopter of the Synclavier. So was Frank Zappa, who used it throughout the 1980s and even released an almost Synclavier-only album, Jazz from Hell. And with that, let's take a look at the Synclavier V. The main interface resembles the physical design of the Synclavier, with a wood finish, a keyboard, and knobs for the global timbral controls. Use the bar at the top of the screen to select presets. This next one might be quite familiar. Let's check out a few more presets that show the range of this instrument. Okay, now we're going to look at some of the global timbral parameters. Let's start with the FM modulation. As you can hear, that's pretty powerful. There's also the chorus, both coarse and fine-grained. As you can hear, turning up the chorus can be quite dramatic compared to a typical pedal. There are two envelopes, one for amplitude and one for the harmonic content. Let's try changing them now. Okay, let's bring down the chorus a little bit more. Alright, and just down to 0. There we go. Now let's try bringing down the attack values. This creates a really different kind of sound, almost clavinet-like. Let's go back to that familiar phase gong. We can open up the interface to bring up the partial editing panel. This allows us more fine-grained control over each partial separately. These 12 buttons represent the particular partial you want to work with, and there are knobs for fine-grained timbral control, envelopes, and more. We can solo out an individual partial that we want to listen to and work with. Now let's listen to partial 3. As you can hear, this partial is responsible for more of the bell-like attack. Let's switch to a different sound. Okay, let's try soloing out partial 1 again. We can now change the FM of just that partial. Let's adjust the envelopes as well. And now unsolo to bring back into the main mix. Changing one partial can have a dramatic effect on the whole sound. Okay, now we're just listening to and working with partial 4. Adding a little chorus, some greater FM ratio, and now let's put it back in the whole sound. Okay, now let's bring up another sound to demonstrate advanced editing. Yeah, I like that one. You can click on the screen button to bring up the terminal view. This is like the original terminal from the Synclavier, but far more powerful. The first screen allows us to look at the additive synthesis components of each partial. We're looking at partial 2 and seeing the harmonics that go into the carrier wave. There are also harmonics that can be combined to create the modulator wave for FM. The mixer panel shows an overview of all 12 partials, including their volume, pan, tuning, and their FM parameters. Let's set the FM amount for partial 2 to be a little bit higher. The envelope panel shows the envelopes for all 12 partials overlaid. The current one is highlighted, but you can see the other envelopes in the background. Okay, let's edit the envelopes of partial 1. Note that you can see the time advance on both the current and other envelopes in the graphics. Okay, now let's switch back to the engine page and start adding harmonics to partial 1. We can insert additional frames on the timeline and add different harmonic profiles. The additive synthesis engine will interpolate between these as the sound unfolds. While playing a sound, you can see the changes animated via the blue markers. We can also add harmonics to the modulator, thus creating very complex FM profiles. Okay, let's open up partial 2, and we're going to add another frame. And in this one, we're going to draw a reverse harmonic series. Let's see what that does. Now let's bring up the modulation matrix. This shows where different modulation sources on the top are mapped to different modulation destinations on the bottom for each of the 12 partials. Sources can be repeated. For example, the mod wheel is both FM amount and vibrato. You know, I really don't like the way the mod wheel is always mapped to vibrato in almost every synthesizer. So let's take that out by setting those values to 0. There, much better. Let's increase the amount of partial 1 FM. Okay, let's switch to another preset, one that uses the sampling engine. Here you can see, instead of the additive synthesis, we see a sample in the carrier wave. Each partial has its own sample. We can change the samples from a list of built-ins or create our own. We can also change the loop points. Once again, we can add frames to the partial as well as an FM modulator wave. Let's go ahead and increase the FM amount. There, you can see as well as hear some of the FM modulated sample. Okay, let's bring up one more preset to show how we can create really complex sounds. By changing the envelopes of various partials, we can change the overall rhythm of the sound. We hope you've enjoyed this overview of the Arturia Synclavier V and see what a powerful synthesizer it is. In the next chapter, we will show how to create your own presets from scratch. For more information, please visit arturia.com and check out the description below this video. Thanks for watching. Check out more at www.catsynth.com and please subscribe to CatSynth TV.